Hello folks, this is Singing Toad, and today I'd like to talk about my Grohman Canadian belt knife. So what exactly we have here is a interesting little knife. You may or may not be familiar about it, and the reason why I'm doing this video today is there's not lots about this knife on YouTube. If you look up Canadian Grohman Canadian belt knife, you're not going to find too many reviews on them. So I thought since I have one in my collection, I'd take a moment to do a bit of a review. Now, this isn't going to be like a traditional review where I go over all the specs and all these sort of things. That's not really what I'm not really into here. But I just want to kind of introduce the knife, talk a little bit about it, what I like, what I don't like, so on and so forth. So the first thing is it comes with this very nice leather sheath. It's very nicely stitched. It has this they call that a grommet, I believe, here, and you could easily attach something to that, help this strap this to a bag or whatever. Of course, it has a little belt, this kind of decorative sort of, but it's all leather, by the way. This is genuine leather, and so that's like your belt loop right there, and it's kind of like a dangler design sheath. It does have a drainage hole out the bottom, so if any water gets down inside it, it's going to drain out, and you know, hopefully your knife won't rust up on you. I have this very bright yellow or chartreuse 550 paracord lanyard on it. It did come with a black lanyard, is what it came with out of the box, but I put this bright chartreuse one on because I have a habit of dropping things when I'm out in the bush, and if I inadvertently drop this guy, this is going to stand out against the ground where the black is not. So let me just turn this around here because I'm not left-handed, and we'll just set that over there. By the way, the sheath is just simply friction fit. So I don't know how well you can see down in there, but it's just like raw leather in there, and you know, but I love this sheath. This is an awesome sheath. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing you're going to notice is Canada on the blade, because that's the country this knife is made in. Canada's not really a huge knife making country. We're not really known for making knives, unlike the United States or Germany or Japan or something like that. But there are a few knife manufacturers here in Canada. Grohman is one of them. There are a few custom knife makers here in Canada. I just want to give a shout out to Kyle Noseworthy. He's out in the East Coast. I think Newfoundland is where he's from. Excellent knife maker. One of these days I do plan to buy a knife off of him. He has some really gorgeous designs, and but anyway, that's just one fella. And if you don't know Kyle Noseworthy on YouTube, check him out. But these guys, by the way, are located in Nova Scotia, I believe, is where Grohman's from. So if we flip this guy around here, I'm not sure if we'll be able to get the camera to focus. There we go. There, look at that. Imagine that. My camera actually finally focused on something. Grohman D.H. Russell, #1 stainless. Now, one thing I want to say, a lot of knives that are stamped just stainless are as I tend to tell people to stay away from. However, those are typically made in China knives or Pakistan or India or some third world country that's not worth your time or your money. I do know that this particular manufacturer tends to use a type of steel called 4116 stainless. It's a German stainless steel, from what I understand. Also, in their custom shop, you can get carbon steel. So for those of you who are in the carbon steel camp, you can get this knife and other ones like it on their website, made in carbon steel. And they do have a custom shop where you can get different things done. So if you want that, you can check them out on their website. So what do we have here? We have this very interesting designed knife. First of all, I want to say, look at the handle, okay? You know, what can I say about this knife? It just feels great in the hand. It's kind of awkward the way I've got this camera set up here, but when you hold a knife in your hand, it just melts into your hand. I mean, there's very few knives that I own that have such awesome ergos. You know, you've got this jimping on the back of the spine, which wasn't this aggressive. I actually took a little file and I actually filed these out a little bit to make them just a touch deeper. Also, so that they would be able to bite into a ferro rod if I wanted to strike a ferro rod with it. These are, kind of like teeth that'll dig into a fire rod, or ferro seam rod, I guess is what they call them. Ferro rod. I don't know. I can't pronounce it correctly. You know what I mean. But yeah, like the handle is just. I mean, it just feels great. Your thumb naturally lands right here. It curves up into your hand. And I mean, I'm not sure what type of wood that is. I'm guessing it's rosewood, but I'm not sure what that is. Okay, it could be anything really. Who knows? It could just be stained to look this color. But very, very solid. As you can see, it is a full tang, although it's not super thick. Like, this isn't the type of knife you're going to take out in the bush and chop trees down with. This is a companion type knife, a belt knife, hence the term Canadian belt knife. Now the edge here, this funky grind, this is kind of me sharpening here. I was practicing some freehand sharpening, and I kind of did a terrible job. So I need to work on that some more. But very, very sharp. Now I am just going to do just a couple quick size comparisons for anyone who's not familiar with this knife, and just to see what the size is. So I'm going to start with the Spyderco Delica, and just put that right there, just so you can kind of see size comparison, and a Mora Companion right there. So just for some size comparisons, give you an idea of the size of the knife. Put that guy back. And I'm just going to bring up the old trusty tape measure here, and let's just measure some things. So the total length from the tip to kind of where the crossguard is, so roughly 4 inches, give or take. The actual cutting edge is a little less than 3.5, about 3 3/4. Or sorry, 3 and what is that? 2, 4, 6, 7/16 roughly. About the cutting edge there. The blade at its widest part is about 7/8 of an inch. The handle at its widest part is about 3/4 of an inch. The handle is 4.5 inches. Extend this out just a touch here. And let's just slide this along here. So from tip to tail, it's about 8.25. It's not very wide either. So let's just put this in here. A little over 1/2 inch. 9/16 maybe. The blade thickness. Let's just see if I can get a proper. A little less than 1/8 of an inch. So, anyway, I don't know how much it weighs. This thing's light though. It weighs like nothing. I mean, this thing, and I tell you what, this thing is just so nice in the hand. It really is. If you don't own one of these knives, or if you've never seen one before, I know Cold Steel makes a version of this, and I think they actually call it the Canadian belt knife. There are a few other brands out there, and this is like that, kind of the early trapper days of like the Hudson Bay Company, things of that nature. Like people used to, trappers and stuff used to carry knives like this. The shape of the blade being this kind of like leaf shape lends itself to all kinds of different purposes. This knife can be used obviously for skinning, if processing wild game. Fishermen like knives like this. I'm a fisherman. I like to carry this knife when I go fishing. It has so many handy purposes, and because it's so light, I mean, you when you're carrying this thing on your belt, you don't even realize you have it. It's just, and And I mean, it's just, I mean, this guy's razor sharp. Even though the blade grind is butchered, you know, it is razor sharp. I mean, it just, like, look at that. Like, it just, no effort at all. It just takes, like, this thing is just crazy sharp. And it holds a pretty good edge too. I mean, I've only sharpened it once. Um, I did a terrible job, but it gets sharp, looks awful, but it cuts things. And, and yeah, I just love it. The only thing I would like to see, maybe I might do this down the road, but I might grind a flat spot right here with a file, just so that I can make it for scraping a ferro rod. I don't like using the blade to scrape a ferro rod. I think that's abuse. And speaking of abuse, this knife obviously is not for like batoning wood or chopping or anything like that. This is your companion blade. Much like, the, Mora companion, you know, this is a companion blade. This goes along with your other bushcraft tools. So if you have a hatchet or a saw or whatever, your big wood processing tools are going to accompany this guy. Okay, so you're not relying this guy solely on doing your survival stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to show this knife, and and just to admire it a little bit. And really, if you don't have a Canadian belt knife, you really should check them out. And if you happen to be Canadian, and you call yourself a knife collector, get one of these, okay? You're not a Canadian knife collector if you don't have one of these in your collection. Enough said. All right? Anyway, that is a bit of a joke, by the way. I'm not serious about that. But anyway, what I am serious about, though, is great knife. They're not terribly expensive. And this guy here was, I think I paid just shy of $100, 100 Canadian dollars for him. I don't remember. It wasn't terribly expensive, though. I've spent way more on knives than what it cost for this guy. And this is the type of knife that will last you your entire life, and you'll be able to pass it down. Anyway, folks, just wanted to talk a little bit, share a little bit about my Grohman Canadian belt knife, and hopefully you enjoyed that. Thanks very much for watching. Singing Toad signing out.